Johnny Carson could put any guest at ease and win the room in a heartbeat. These women weren't going to make it that easy.
The wonderful English woman got up in the Palladium and said, I'm here alone tonight because my husband hates you.
Every one of them had earned her place long before she walked onto that stage. But here's what almost nobody knew. One of them had quietly helped put a show on the air you've probably seen 100 times, and nobody watching that night ever guessed which one.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny.
By 1991, Maureen O'Hara hadn't made a film in nearly 20 years. To most of the audience, she was still the redhead who stood toe-to-toe with John Wayne. But she'd walked away from all of it on her own terms. That night, when she came onto his stage, Johnny greeted her the way he greeted the ones he adored.
I told the audience what I told you when I saw you in your dressing room. Secretly in love with you for 50 years. And I got a chance to tell you.
That was before you were born.
Oh, give me a break. Aren't you? That's why I love you, for saying stuff like that.
The way she told it, the whole decision took one sentence.
John Wayne was down visiting us in St. Croix, where we lived, where I moved to.
Right.
And they were both 6 feet 4 inches tall, and I was sitting down, and they were standing up, and they looked at me and said, "Isn't it about time you stayed home?"
Seriously?
Yep. And they thought they were going to get a great argument from me, and I said, "Okay, fine." So I quit.
Two very tall men and a question. But staying home didn't mean what it sounded like. When her husband, the aviator Charles Blair, died in a crash in 1978, Maureen took over his airline herself and became the first woman to run a scheduled passenger airline in the United States. So when she talked about pleasing the public, she wasn't talking about the movies.
I was in the aviation industry. I learned the aviation industry, and that has to do with the public also, because if you don't please the public and communicate with the public, they won't buy any more tickets on your airline.
Yeah.
Maureen O'Hara could give it all up and never look over her shoulder. The next guest was built the opposite way. She'd fought for everything she had and never once let anyone see her flinch. In 1979, Ethel Merman was 71 years old. You heard her before you saw her, a voice that filled a theater without a microphone. She'd learned young that if she softened, people took it for weakness, so she never did where anyone could see. Johnny had heard Ethel still typed her own letters, shorthand and all, and he wanted to test her live.
I want to see if you're still any good.
Oh, yeah.
Dear sir, in response to your letter of the 16th, this is to advise that your manuscript recently sent to this address. Has he got all that?
Yeah, so far.
That bluntness went deeper than a stage voice. The year before, she'd published her autobiography, and the chapter titled My Marriage to Ernest Borgnine, about a marriage that barely lasted a month, was a single blank page. She said everything by saying nothing. Then she told Johnny what she'd just done, and it was the last thing anyone expected from her.
I am doing, I think, one of the most exciting things in my life. I am cutting an album right now for A&M Records, 8 of my big hit show tunes in disco.
Johnny saw what it really was, a woman reinventing herself at 71, still reaching for the next thing. She just seemed glad to be in the middle of it.
Full circle, aren't you, in your career? You've done it all now. You started out with that straight musical theater, now you're back to the disco,
Yeah, it's coming out about first week in June, and I'm just thrilled.
What you saw with Ethel Merman was all of it, direct and out in the open. The next guest built her whole career on looking effortless. Almost no one ever saw what it cost her. By 1969, Debbie Reynolds had made everything look like fun for 2 decades. The singing, the dancing, the girl next door smile that never dropped. That smile was the performance. What it hid is one of the harder stories in Hollywood. On Johnny's stage, she could still light up a room the way she always had. She made it look effortless, but Debbie came a long way. She was barely 19, a gymnast who'd hardly danced a step, thrown in beside Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. She said later that she rehearsed till her feet bled. When it got to be too much, Fred Astaire found her crying under a piano and helped her through it. Years later, she'd call it one of the 2 hardest things she ever did. The other was childbirth.
When I was, 10, but then I really learned how to dance when I did Singing in the Rain with Donald O'Connor and Gene Kelly, and I was 18 then.
And she gave Johnny exactly as much as she wanted to, never a word more. He went looking for her age.
No one's older than Tammy.
Oh, yes. I'm older than you are.
No, just a couple of years.
If you enjoy moments like this, with a little more story around them, subscribe. We share new ones every week. Debbie Reynolds tucked the hard parts behind a smile. The next guest tucked nothing away, least of all that she'd once tried to run Hollywood itself and nearly pulled it off. By 1983, Bette Davis had been a star for 50 years, 2 Academy Awards, and a verdict on everyone who ever crossed her. She said exactly what she thought, to your face, every time. And she wasn't shy about the honors she felt she was owed.
They send out brochures each year as to who we think would be a good choice.
I get one of those too.
Honoree. You get it too.
To make suggestions.
Well, after about 8 or 10 years of being disappointed, I wrote on mine, me.
Good. And why not? And why not?
And what people said about her behind her back never landed a scratch. She'd heard worse, to her face.
When I did my show in London, a wonderful English woman got up in the Palladium and said, I'm here alone tonight because my husband hates you.
Well, lady was honest, I guess.
You just go right home and tell him.
Johnny turned to the awards. 2 Oscars, 10 nominations, and 1 number she never got over.
You had two Academy Awards, 10 nominations, and every one of them for Best Actress, not supporting. Mm-hmm. That is incredible. I don't know anybody else.
I was disappointed about a couple of them I didn't get.
Really?
I always wanted to be the first one who got 3. Miss Hepburn beat me.
Most people don't know this. Bette didn't just star at the Academy. For a moment, she ran it. In 1941, she became the first woman ever to lead it, and she came in with real ideas. Change the awards, change who got to vote. The board didn't want reform. They wanted her to smile, wave, and stay out of the way. So after 2 months, she quit. Here's the part they never lived down. A few years later, they did almost everything she'd asked for.
You've been described as a legend, an extraordinary actress. How would you like to be best remembered?
Is a good worker.
Just a good,
I have
solid
adored the
professional?
work.
Bette Davis walked away from the top of Hollywood. The last guest did the opposite. She built something at the center of it that would outlast them all. And nobody watching that night had any idea. By 1969, Lucille Ball and Johnny had known each other for years. With her, he wasn't interviewing a guest. He was catching up with an old friend. And everyone in the business knew she was far more than a funny lady. She was one of the most powerful people in television.
Because you were voted the first lady of television by the International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.
She'd earned that title the hard way. She'd been on the air longer than almost anyone alive and had no thought of stopping.
You're not getting tired of doing television, are you? Didn't you get to the point once where you were going to quit and says,
No, I never got to a point where I was going to quit. I've been on 18 years.
No, not 18 years.
Yes, 18 years.
That's incredible.
She'd watched the whole medium grow up around her, and Lucy wasn't shy about how much it changed.
When I first started in television, I appeared on our show in, shall I say, a slightly pregnant condition.
That's right.
Which we were asked to refer to as expecting, because some of the viewers had complained. Imagine complaining about that. Nowadays, you not only see women pregnant, but how they got that way. It's true.
You're right. That is amazing.
Johnny didn't hand out serious praise often. With Lucy, it came naturally.
I'll tell you, I have such great admiration for you because you know what's good for you and you're such a good editor and you'll work just like Jack Benny does when Jack was the other night. And boy, there are few people in the business who give it the intelligence and the time and the devotion that you do to come out with a good product.
Thank you.
I mean that.
What most of the audience that night didn't know was that the woman laughing on Johnny's couch had bought out her ex-husband and taken control of their studio, Desilu. And when almost everyone around her wanted to pass on a strange little science fiction show, Lucy backed it anyway. That show was Star Trek. Johnny was sitting across from 5 of the most remarkable women Hollywood ever produced. Women who'd survived it, outlasted it, and still knew exactly who they were. And Johnny always seemed to know it too.